for taking some time to be with us today. We are so glad to have Mark Eddy from Sage with us today, and he is the perfect person to talk about Sage Enterprise Intelligence. So he's going to give you a little introduction and then show you some things that the tool can do. So I'm just going to turn it right over to Mark and we'll get started. Are you there, Mark? Mark, you may want to put in your audio pin. That might help. There you go. Now, can you hear us, Mark?
Yep.
Oh,
yes, I can. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate everyone taking the time out of their busy schedules today to take a look at Sage Enterprise Intelligence. We're going to go through just a quick couple of slides to frame the conversation and describe how the solution works. And then I'm going to launch a live version of one of the ERP platforms and go through some live exercises of designing reports, setting up distributions, activities like that. So we'll get started right away. And we'll start with just a quick exercise here. So we're looking at 6 different invoices, and this is really how the data exists today inside of Sage 100 or inside of Sage 300, 500, X3, individual pieces of data, right? So you have your individual invoices, transactions, GL accounts. And what you have right now is a situation where you need to go piece by piece, and in order to perform analysis, it can be cumbersome. The most common workaround today is, of course, exporting to Microsoft Excel. But what if you had a solution that could very easily identify things like seasonal trends or best customers? You might notice that out of these 6 different invoices, 3 of them, 50% of these invoices all take place within the month of March. You also might notice that 3 of them, 50%, are all from one single customer. So what business intelligence is really trying to do is cause a shift in where you spend your time. So rather than having to constantly take all these individual pieces of data out of the ERP and perform analysis on them manually, we want to give you the ability to get right to the analysis stage from step 1 so that you can easily identify things like best customers, trends, sales reps, and really the efficiency of your business, profitability, things like that. So that's really the main tenet, the main point of a dedicated business intelligence solution. So Sage Enterprise Intelligence is really a comprehensive solution that's geared at doing 3 different things. Reducing the time it takes to get to that analysis stage, like I said, so allowing you to get to the decision-making process much faster without having to constantly massage and manipulate data, like we do today inside of Microsoft Excel. We also want to empower the end user. This is something very common that I hear when I talk to clients, that usually there's a bottleneck with 1 or 2 people inside of the enterprise that truly hold the keys to the data. So if someone, even the president of the company, wants to see some data from their own accounting system or even some other software package, there's a bottleneck within the organization to just 1 or 2 people. Very common with solutions like Crystal. You usually have 1 Crystal expert or 1 reporting manager, if you will. So Sage Enterprise Intelligence has a lot of functionality built in that allows more interaction from the end user's perspective so that they can get a glimpse into the data in real time and be able to perform the analysis that they need in formats that make sense for their job function. And the final tool, or the final piece that Sage Enterprise Intelligence wants to address is the time it takes to get data into the hands of the end users, the end consumer of the data. Far too often, people are concerned that they're not making a decision on the most accurate and up-to-date information. Sage Enterprise Intelligence has extremely robust distribution functionality that can completely automate the delivery of this data, the delivery of the reports to your end users, either on an automated schedule or based on some sort of trigger or threshold. A lot of robust functionality there that can get that data into the hands of the end user faster. And what that really means for you as far as a cost savings when it comes to implementing a better business intelligence solution is it'll allow you to be a more agile business. And the faster you can make decisions, the better you can take advantage of opportunities when they present themselves. So Sage Enterprise Intelligence gives you a very flexible way to deploy a dedicated business intelligence solution. We have 3 different interfaces that you can use. We have the traditional user interface that's based on inside the browser. So that's where you actually do majority of your design and creation of reports and templates. We also have a mobile option. And this allows you to push out these templates or reports that you've created to your end users in the field. They can be outside of your firewall. These are salespeople, service technicians, really anybody that has access to a browser. This is all browser-based, so it's device agnostic, browser agnostic. So it's definitely very flexible. You don't have to standardize on one piece of peripheral. You are able to access it on the devices you already have in-house. And finally, Sage Enterprise Intelligence also offers an Excel add-in. So this is a plugin or enhancement for Excel that gives you the ability to pull data from the ERP or other data sources in real time and place it into reusable Excel templates with a complete live refresh option. So you'll be able to refresh the data in real time directly from the data source itself. So just to go over the main interface that we're going to work with today, the web interface, this is our main BI user license. And so these are the individuals that have the ability to create new report templates, or what we call views, inside of Sage Enterprise Intelligence. Sage Enterprise Intelligence comes with a wide range of views or reports out of the box from different places or different modules inside of the ERP. There's full drill down capability. This is where you also can set up distribution. And you also have the ability to create a data warehouse using an OLAP queue. So again, this is device agnostic, browser agnostic, so this is all going to be handled inside of the browser. There is a way that you can even publish this to users that are outside of the firewall. But keep in mind that this is still being used with traditional on-premise licensing for the ERP, regardless of which platform that you're on. The mobile edition is going to give you the same access to those views or reports that you've created in the web interface. The only main difference, of course, is that you can't update those or edit those views or reports. You still have full drill down capability, and the end user even has the ability to shift between different views. For example, if we're looking at a sales report and it's being shown as a line graph, but the sales manager who has this mobile license would prefer to see a bubble chart or a pie chart. They'll be able to very easily toggle between the different views, all for the same report, thereby allowing them to get that data into a format that allows them to make a decision faster without having to call or send an email and say, hey, can you update this report template? There's a lot more self-service built into this mobile license. And the thing I like pointing out is that it's not just for people that are out in the field from a mobile perspective. So it's not just the iPad, iPhone. You can still access this from your traditional laptop as well. So you can open up a browser. So think of the mobile as more of a viewer license. So this is for individuals that have no ties or no licensing for the ERP platform. These are people that can range anywhere from operational staff to accounting or to executive leadership. And finally, the Excel add-in. Again, this is giving you real-time access to all of the data inside of your data sources that you create. You can pull that data into those reusable templates inside of Excel and perform your analysis using mainly native Excel language, native Excel skills, so creating these reports in a format that makes sense for you. Obviously, you can imagine that the strong point in the Excel add-in is going to be financial reporting, and that's the example that I'll show you here today. There we go. So I want to shift gears real quick, and I'm going to bring over my VMware image to this monitor here. There we go. All right, so today we're going to be using my Sage 300 environment to explore Sage Enterprise Intelligence. So if we look here, what you're looking at is the web interface, so the web license for Sage Enterprise Intelligence. This is the main user interface that you're going to be working with to create and design reports. You'll see that the layout is very similar to a Microsoft Outlook, where you have a folder structure on the left-hand side, a data window on the right, and then a navigation ribbon at the top. Under each of these folders, you will find things called processes. So these processes, which you see here, sales history, and I made a copy there, this is basically a path to data. So inside of the process, we're defining what data we're making available for reporting and who has access to that. So you can create very robust security privileges so that only certain users have access to a certain level of data. And this is where you really can fine-tune what data is being pulled for a specific report. Now, if I open up one of these processes, we'll look at sales history first, you'll see we have all of these views, or traditionally what we know of as reports. And if I double-click on one of these views or reports, the output will show up here in my window on the right-hand side. So you'll see that we're looking at this very basic sales history report. The layout of this report is determined by these dimensions and measures that you see up here at the top. All of the design and customization for this report or view is done just with simple drag and drop of the mouse. So for instance, right now we're looking at the sales history report, and I can drill down in to each specific year. And then in each year, you'll see the next level is our fiscal period. But let's say, for instance, I want to see a 2-year comparison, and let's get rid of some of these real quick. Let's say we don't care about the cost of goods or the quantity, but I want to see these 3 measures, and I want to pivot on the fiscal year. So just by dragging the fiscal year down, you can see now that we're pivoting there. We'll have both years listed out, and then we can drill into each individual fiscal period, since that's what we're showing up here under the group. So we can go in there and say, under each fiscal period, I want to then be able to drill down into a further level, and we'll just drag and drop customer number over. So now, when I drill into one of these periods, we'll go into fiscal period 9, you'll see that all of the transactions, all of the sales under that period took place with one of 4 different customer numbers, which you see here. So further, you can go into these individual customers and then look at the transaction. So you have full drill down capability inside of this report. So we made just a very basic change to this report. You'll notice that we just do some editing here. Let's get rid of the document number. Here we go. So now a very simple 2-year comparison for our sales history. So now we've made some changes to this, we're able to save a customized view. So we'll save this as my new sales history report, and we'll make this public for our users. Keep in mind you have full audit control of all of these report templates and who's able to see them. So for this example, we're going to just make this public for everyone, but you could even create a prompt screen so that the end user needs to specify specific parameters prior to the report even running. So things like date ranges or account numbers or salesperson, for example, with this sales report, maybe you want to give access to a sales manager, but before they run that report, they need to specify what salesperson they're looking for. So for this example, we'll just make this a very basic public report. And so now you can see we've already created a new report, my new sales history report, which I just used the existing sales history report as a basis to build that report. Now, of course, you always have the ability to start from scratch. So under the process, which again is that path to the data, you can right-click and choose to create a new worksheet a chart, a gauge, a map, or some labels that will further parse down the data for any given report. So let's say we wanted to create another report completely from scratch. So I can choose New Worksheet, and we'll call this our test worksheet here, and we'll make this public as well. It now opens up a new tab, and you'll notice that all of the dimensions and measures are blank. So using this window on the right-hand side, I can drag and drop the components that I want and place them right into the group here. So let's say I want the fiscal year and the fiscal period, followed by customer number. And the individual measures that we want to look for are going to be the sales. So now you can see data is starting to show up. Any returns that we had, and let's say the cost of goods sold. Oops. There we go. So again, now we have the ability to drill down just like that prior sales report and start looking at this data. If we wanted to do the same thing we did with the last one and see a comparison year over year, we can drag that fiscal year option right down here, and you'll see we're starting to build the same report we just did. So if I remove this fiscal period here, and let's say we wanted to create our own user calculation, maybe like a profit, or maybe some sort of variance field, you do have that option to create user-defined calculations. Now, if you're looking at this report and you're saying, well, I really would prefer to see my sales report plotted out in a graph. Rather than having to redesign this report, you can use these reports in views and shift those so that they're represented in a more graphical, dynamic way. So we can look at this same report as a bar chart. So now you can see we have all of our fiscal periods broken out here as individual columns. And then we have our performance measured up here on the y-axis. So as you notice, it still has the same name, Test Worksheet. But now we're displaying that worksheet as a graph. So I'll go up there and save that. And let's change this to be our test graph. And again, we'll make that public. So that's just a quick example there of manipulating some of the standard report views or templates that come out of the box. We also have the ability to look into the finance side as well. So all of the data that is available for reporting is all defined, again, by that process. So under each of these processes, you can go in and see what data is being made available. So if I wanted to look at account summaries or detailed transactions, I can go under each of those processes and start creating views. I already have some very basic ones created here. So for this, I can drag and drop the fiscal year down there. Again, now you see that we're pivoting on that. Or we can just delete some of these measures together, altogether to create our financial statements in a way that makes sense for us. Now, at any time when you create reports or views inside of Sage Enterprise Intelligence, you want to start thinking about the end result of where you need this data to go. So once you have your reports created, if you're going to be the main consumer, you can always right-click on the report or the view and subscribe for distribution. So that means that this report can be automatically delivered to you in several different formats, either through email or pushing it out to a shared network folder. So for example, we can build an email body and say this is our detailed GL transaction report. We can put in whatever sort of references we want here, and then we can create a schedule. So we can say send this out to me, to my inbox on a daily basis, and let's say I want this to be delivered by 9 a.m. There we go. So every morning when I get into the office, I'm going to get a brand new GL transaction report into my email inbox. And of course, you can always have this be every 2 days, every 3 days. You can have it expire after a certain day. But this is really showing you that after you create a report, theoretically, you would never even have to go back into this interface unless you wanted to make a change. Very easily, you can simplify and automate the distribution of that data. Now, that's true not just to yourself, but also to other users inside your enterprise. Under the Administration tab, you do have the Scheduler option so that you can set up distributions. So you can see here I've got a couple different examples that I've done in the past. But you can create a new distribution, and let's say we're going to have this one email. You can go through and select which views, or again, reports that you want to send out and include in that distribution. Now, when I create reports, I always name them my. So you can see here some of the reports I've created. There's that my new worksheet. You could add that in there. You can add in here the chart. And of course, you can change which format they're going out and which environment they're coming from. So if you have multiple companies or multiple company codes or environments that you want to pull data from, this is a global environment. So you do have the ability to toggle between different companies. You can see this example. I have 2 different company codes. I'll be able to use, as long as I have the right administration privileges, I'll be able to use the same template and say, show me that same sales history report for SAM Incorporated and SAM Ltd. So you do have the ability to toggle between multiple environments. You also can include those Excel files, so you can send out Excel views, and you can create user groups. So these are groups, a sales group or a finance group, so that you don't have to always recreate the group and go and find and hunt and peck to find each individual email address that you want. And you can also set conditions. So you can set a condition for sales thresholds. If sales dip below a certain threshold, you can have that sales report with the detail automatically be sent out via email or pushed to some shared network folder. And that way it'll be automatically top of mind for that sales manager. They need to get on their salespeople and make sure that they go out there and bridge the gap. Or maybe if they hit some huge milestone, maybe some congratulations are in order. So maybe the vice president wants to reach out and say, hey, great job. Again, you have the ability to build that email body and then schedule that for some sort of recurring schedule or some sort of monthly distribution. It all depends on what the business need is. Now, in addition to just standard reports and views, one of the biggest advantages of Sage Enterprise Intelligence is the easy way that you can create dashboards. Dashboarding is a very powerful way to get a snapshot view of the enterprise without having to run multiple reports at once and perform all of your analysis on your own. So you can go into the dashboard option here, which you see is in the tab on the lower left. And under these dashboards, you'll see I have one created here for sales. So if I look at my sales dashboard, it's going to pull up multiple views or multiple reports that make up this dashboard. So you can see here we've got the profitability by salesperson, we've got cost of goods, we've got performance, and I still have the ability to drill down inside of the dashboard. I can toggle between 2 different years here. So if we're looking at 2020, I can say, show me that same data for the prior year. Now, you may think that it would take a good deal of time and effort to build a dashboard like this, but it's surprisingly easy. Under the folder here, Mark's Dashboards, I can right-click and say, let's create a brand new dashboard. So we'll call this my new test dashboard. Oops. There we go. And we're going to make this public once again. We'll click OK. And now you'll see we have this view that is very similar to that standard interface when we were just creating our own reports one by one. Under each of these folders, you're still going to find the same list of processes. And under each process, you'll see the same list of reports. So if I scroll down here, you'll see my new sales report. There we go. Here's that test graph that we just did. So if I want to include this graph inside of my dashboard, all I have to do is drag and drop it into the window. It automatically adds that in to the dashboard. Now let's say we wanted to have a chart or a grid here or a worksheet. So now we have that worksheet, but obviously it's not really showing all the data that we need. So we need to kind of reformat. So very easily you can take this report or view, and let's say we want to anchor that at the bottom. Then we want to change the screen real estate so that has a little bit more space. And then maybe we want to look at maybe the performance of our salespeople, or maybe we want to see the customers by territory. We can just drag and drop over a geospatial map here. There we go. So very easily, we created a very basic sales dashboard. We've got sales performance based on our 4 different locations. We've got sales based on the fiscal period, so very easily you can see that we're doing pretty well for the 3rd period. And you also see the geographic distribution of our customer base. So in order to save this, we'll save that now. And so now, as an end user, if I wanted to run this report, or I'm sorry, this dashboard, all I have to do is double click, and it will create that dashboard in a new tab. So very easily, I've shown how you can create these new views or reports simply by dragging and dropping. We haven't done any coding or calculations. It's all being done for you using Sage Enterprise Intelligence. Now that you've created some reports or views inside of the web interface, I want to shift gears and show you the mobile interface. So I'll minimize that, and we'll go back here. It might have to sign me back in. We've been idle for a second. So you notice that the web interface, I was using Internet Explorer. Sorry about that. So for the mobile example, you'll notice that I'm using Google Chrome. Just to highlight that this solution is 100% agnostic to what device, operating system, or browser you're using. So let's go into that sales folder. So again, this same layout here that we had inside of the web interface, you can still go into the same reports. Oops, getting an error there. Let me refresh here for a second. There you go. So you'll notice that as I double click into that folder, we have that same list of processes that we had before. Now keep in mind, your mobile users may not have access to all of the folders and all of the views that a standard BI user might have. It's totally possible to segment what data the end user has access to. There's very robust capabilities inside of Sage Enterprise Intelligence where you can restrict access to data. So we can go into that same sales history report that we looked at first. And as you notice, it's going to display it in the same way that we had before with that 2-year. And as I double click, I can drill down into this data. And you can see then we go down to the next level, which is fiscal period. And then I can further drill down into each of those transactions. So all inside of the browser, the end user is able to take a look at this. They can also collapse the navigation tree over on the left-hand side. You can look at geospatial mapping. So again, we're looking at our customer distribution throughout the US. And you can even use Google Street View. I talked with one customer that was actually giving their salespeople access to their locations for their prospects. So they, on their iPad, could actually click into that prospect location and see the location where they're going, what company, what the building looks like, what the surroundings are like. So pretty cool functionality. So even if we look at, let's say, a sales by location chart here, so we're looking at this standard bar chart. If the end user is looking at this and saying, you know what, I really can't make a decision or analyze this data in the format that it's in currently, very easily they'll be able to toggle between different views of the same report. You'll notice down in the bottom right-hand corner, I've got the option to choose which type of chart I want to view this data in. So we're looking at our sales by location, so maybe we want to see a donut chart here. So very easily, wouldn't you agree that this is a better representation of sales by location than that other weird bar chart? It very easily shows our 4 different locations and what sales levels they're operating at. You still have the ability to drill down into this by choosing one specific option. So we'll choose the Portland office here, and we'll choose to drill down. Inside of that, you'll see the individual category codes. You'll see that obviously majority of the Portland location, their sales is all done with the accessory products. A very small portion is the executive desks. We could further drill down to the individual territories as well. So a lot of end user ability all inside of this mobile browser. This again can be deployed to just a standard browser on someone's laptop as well. This really opens up the possibilities for your user base for even individuals that are outside of the firewall, outside of the network. Salespeople, executive leadership, board members, it really gives you a great deal of flexibility who and how you can publish your data to. You still have the ability to run some dashboards as well. So under Mark's dashboards, we can go in and look at that test dashboard that I had created before. So there it is right there. Those 3 different views or reports that I dragged and dropped in, you can see now show up on a dashboard. We created that dashboard in less than 5 minutes. And as an end user, if I'm a sales manager or a salesperson, or even if this was financial data, if that's being created in the web interface and it's published to me, it's available in real time. Keep in mind that all of the data that's being represented today on the screen is being pulled in real time from my Sage 300 database. But I'm sure you've noticed I have not launched Sage 300 once. So this does not require any interference or requirement to have Sage 300 installed or have a license for Sage 300. This is a big differentiating factor between Sage Enterprise Intelligence and Sage Intelligence that you've probably seen. That is just the Excel-based reporting. So I've showed you a couple options there of creating and designing some reports inside of the web interface and looking at the mobile interface. And now I want to look at the financial reports using the Excel add-in. So you'll notice that I'll go directly to my Windows desktop, and I'm going to launch just a standard Excel file. You'll see I have it titled SEI Financial Reports for Sage 300. You'll notice that it logs me in very quickly. Here we go. And so now we're looking at a very basic financial dashboard, if you will. Now we're looking at this data in real time. You can see it's pulling from the Sage 300 database. And if we want to look and toggle between these different parameters, for instance, the fiscal year, if we want to look at, say, fiscal year 2019, in real time, I can choose the parameter, and it will go out to the Sage 300 database and pull that data. And you'll see all of the data update in real time inside of Microsoft Excel. And you'll have to excuse me here. For some reason, it's running a little bit slow. I am on a VMware image today, so its performance is a little bit slower than what I'm used to. So sorry about that. But at any time, if you wanted to create new report templates, you do have the ability to simply add in new sheets, new worksheets inside of the Excel file, and use majority of the native Excel skills that you have to create and design the layout and the look and feel of the report that you're trying to build. So we'll give that just another second here to process. Sorry about that. So in a second here, it will update, and I'll show you about creating some new reports inside of Excel. So while we're waiting on that, I wanted to double check. Elizabeth, do we have any questions that are coming in through the chat or the comment section?
Let me double check. No, not yet, but we'd like to invite everybody, if you do have a question, in the GoToMeeting box that you have up on your screen, there's a section for questions. You can ask a question there, or you can just send it through the chat box and we'll see it. We'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
In the meantime, I apologize for that delay. Let's go back to the web interface, and I'll show you a few other things that I wanted to highlight today. Again, with that environment, you're able to create different global environments for consolidation purposes. So if you do need to see data across multiple companies, very easily you can create a global environment. Alternatively, you can always create one for each company, or custom environments that might merge together 2 or 3 companies while keeping another separate. You also have the ability to set up new connections to other data sources like other SQL databases, Oracle, DB2, and create data cubes so that you can create an OLAP option there. There we go, and I really apologize for the speed at which my VMware is running today. But you'll be able to create those environments to give you a consolidated view of your data. So other software packages that you might use inside your enterprise, you'll be able to make connections to those and very easily create paths to the data so that you can pull that in real time. Let's go back to Excel and see, it's still only at 37%, sorry about that. So we'll go through here and just show you a real quick example of how to create a new report. So if we wanted to say, let's create, a very simple balance sheet, and maybe we want to put our accounts here. Very easily, you can create a formula and say we want to pull. There we go. And it will pull the data from the ERP in real time and place it right into the Excel workbook. Rather than having to go back into Sage Enterprise Intelligence and make any changes inside of there, you'll be able to simply save this as an Excel work file on your Windows desktop. The next time you run this, it will look identical to the way that you left it, but with fresh data from the ERP. You always have the ability to update the data as well in real time. So you might be looking at this and you may have worked on it for another hour or 2. And once you have the report looking exactly how you want, you have the ability to refresh the data and see all of those changes come up in real time. So we're right at about 40 minutes. I wanted to just kind of pause real quick to see if we had any questions come through and just kind of open it up for discussion.
I don't have any questions that have come in so far, but if anybody has a question, please share with us.
And currently, Sage Enterprise. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, if you'd rather ask it over the phone, just raise your hand by clicking that little hand button, and I'll unmute your line. We just like to keep them muted just for background noise, but we'll be happy to unmute you. What were you saying, Mark?
Well, what I was going to say, traditionally what I've found on webcasts like these is you might be thinking, I really want to ask some questions that are very specific to my business, but I'd rather have a more private one-on-one discussion. I just wanted to highlight that my role here with Sage North America is to support this product, and all I do all day long is put on webcasts and individual demonstrations for clients. If you do want to have more of a one-on-one personalized demonstration and ask some questions that are specific to your business, all you need to do is reach out to your representative and they can schedule that. So Elizabeth, I assume that would be you or whoever else they work with at Perryman?
Yes, they absolutely can contact me, or they can contact support, which is our general box that is monitored by several people all the time. But my email address is elizabeth.counts, C-O-U-N-T-S, at perryman-sw.com, and you're welcome to email me after. I will be happy to set something up with Mark one-on-one.
Thank you very much. So that's really all I had prepared today.
Yeah.
I just wanted to go over kind of a high-level overview. I really encourage you, if you want to take a look at a more in-depth demonstration pertinent to your business, especially if maybe, we were looking at Sage 300 today. If you wanted to see something with using Sage 500 data or Sage X3 data, we have those environments as well. So I really encourage you to reach out and schedule a more one-on-one demonstration if that's the case.
Thank you so much, Mark. We appreciate your time, and thank you, everyone, for joining us today.
Have a great afternoon. Thank you, everyone.